When I see fat people in Gucci clothes, I just look the other way and think, fat person in a Gucci shirt. I don't think, oh my God, £300 t-shirt.
Yeah.
Look, you are winning at life. Welcome to the next episode of Confessions of a PT. This week, our topic is, if you are fat, is it your fault? Possibly controversial. I'm sure there'll be some gold in this one. I'm going to throw it open to James first.
Yeah.
Hit me with it.
I'm probably going to go around the question here. I think your upbringing with parents is one of the biggest factors to obesity. I think, I don't want to be too controversial and say it's a form of child abuse, but I think you have a massive duty to make sure your kids are eating healthy. And I think there's an argument of like demonizing food, which I used to be very much for, but I think the food corporations, and we'll come on to this, are so corrupt. How supermarkets are laid out, like it is a minefield left, right and center. But then again, when you look at prioritizing your health and fitness, so I'd say it's a mixture. I'd say 60% not your fault, but 40% is. And I think the food corporations have a lot more to answer for. What about yourself?
I massively agree on the point of childhood upbringing, because I think that shapes you in so many ways, not just with your physical, but like physical, mental, spiritual, career, what you end up doing with your life and everything, because you're so kind of impressionable as a child. And yeah, you can definitely have a bad start with it for sure. The other argument is genetics. Are there some people who are just predisposed to carrying more weight, struggling to lose body fat? Probably yes. I think you can't say not. That's not the case.
Do you think somatotypes is still a thing then?
I just don't think that it's completely created equal. I think definitely there's some genetics or epigenetics that differ from people, person to person, and that can be everything from kind of susceptibility to disease markers to physical shape. But I would say we live in an information age. You can get a fitness program for free, probably most of the nutritional advice you need for free. Mm-hmm. You can do walking for free. Do you know what I mean? So I struggle with some of the excuses sometimes, because let's say you've got the worst genetics and the worst childhood upbringing. If you've got the bit between your teeth to be lean, you can go and get lean. So it's kind of, do you know what I mean? It's a tough one. Because there's a lot. It's a very, very deep subject interwoven with a lot of psychology and things like that aren't easy to unpack.
Yeah. Do you think when you look at the rise of like mental health this year, we spoke about this on another episode with like tough love, do you think people genuinely need to be called out, or is there an arm around your shoulder, or is it depends?
See, this is the thing. In some ways, if you brought back shame a bit more aggressively, then you would probably have less people being obese, because they would raise their standards.
Yeah.
Really. All the time, your arms around the world. We love everyone for the way they are. Just love you for you at 46% body fat. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, is that really helpful? And I get it. I do get it, because, you know, a lot of mental health links into things like self-worth, self-esteem, the way you feel and your feelings. And if your feelings are being hurt, that can compromise your psychology, the way you see the world, the way you act. But at the same time, it's not helpful, really, is it?
Yeah, I've always said, I know, and I'll come on to Ozempic with the fat loss injections. I think one of the best things the government would do would be to, if people are in the obese category, like almost fund them with people like us. rather than go down pills, injections, like, because it's just, again, when you're looking at a quick fix, you're not fixing the problem.
No.
And people, I think, they just see the positive, or Ozempics, if you want to call them positive, with like quick fat loss, but you can't stay on it forever.
No.
As soon as you come off it, it's just going to go back to, and you're just going to be yo-yoing, and people are spending, and this is another thing, when you look at value or perceived value of like whatever you're investing in, people won't hesitate to spend £200, £300, £400 on Ozempic like that.
Yeah.
But then they go to coaching, they're like, oh, it might be £200 a month. I can't afford that. I'm like, this, do you know what I mean? I could change your life in 3 months, but it's just, so yeah.
Yeah, and this, I put a post up about this the other day because I really, really struggle with this, that, you know, the argument is healthy eating expensive, and we could be here till midnight talking about that. Maybe that'll be another episode because there's so many nuances to that. But a lot of people will prioritize the new Nike trainers and then eat sausage rolls than they would go and buy blueberries, because they misweight the value of their health.
Yeah.
They think it's more important, the image that they project and what they're wearing and things like that, than their own kind of personal health. Okay, maybe there's an education bias there, that they don't quite know how powerful eating blueberries are or what that would do for them. And if they did have some more education about that, they might think differently. But it's like, can lots of people not afford blueberries? Or are they just choosing to not buy them because they would rather spend the resources elsewhere?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, I don't know where this addiction to blueberries has come from.
And Greek sausage rolls.
I'm
You had to
clearly
get it
not
in
on,
there.
there are no branded blueberries, so I'm clearly not on any kind of, you know, residual commission. But do you know what I mean, though? That is the...
Yeah.
And I've said this before on other podcasts. I'll say it again because it makes me laugh every time I say it, because it's so true. I will agree that there is a cost of living crisis the minute the matey from Domino's is not cutting me up wherever I go, because somebody,
Every time I see Domino's,
in the stone's throw of my residence has got 20 quid for cheese on toast at 11 a.m, 1 p.m, 3 p.m. So until they start going bust, I will. There is no cost of living crisis.
That's going to be next on the old grammars. Domino's at the top of the chin and Tesco's. Mate, it just reminded me, this is hand on my heart, no exaggeration. You said about excuses. One of my, I say old clients now, I won't name him, but he spent all of his money for that sort of appearance buying a Stone Island jumper and then couldn't afford to pay me for sessions. I was like, are you fucking taking the piss? Like, and it was just to put it on Instagram. And I was just like, how has it got to that stage? You know what I mean? People like bankrupting themselves for that perceived...
That's the thing, and this is what drives me mad, because I am probably more materialistic than I should be. I love my fashion. I would always, you know, if I blow up and become famous, I'll buy an expensive car, love it. But there is a self-worth of getting in good physical shape and going on a personal transformative journey that literally money cannot buy, that is so much more powerful than any brand of shoes, any brand of handbag, anything like that, because that can be taken away from you, that kind of stuff. Intrinsic transformation cannot. And it's just, it saddens me when people don't necessarily see that. And it's almost like they're in the wrong paradigm, because they want to show off a handbag on Instagram for this surface layer validation that they think is doing it, scratching an itch that can't be scratched, playing a game that you can't win, when the answer is to go inside, fix your habits. Do you know what I mean? How good does that feel when you get in shape? You know, you could say some of getting in shape is about vanity and mirror muscles for the same kind of validation, but it's something that is just, should be held in so much more of a high regard. And when I see fat people in Gucci clothes, I just look the other way and think, fat person in a Gucci shirt. I don't think, oh my God, £300 t-shirt.
Yeah.
Look, you are winning at life. I think misweighting, a victim of misweighting bias. That's literally what I see.
It is just that instant gratification with like dopamine, isn't it? But I think we touched on it on a previous episode around just generally how you feel, like feeling energized, just feeling good. And I'll be honest, I put this in an Instagram post. My thoughts around calorie tracking have changed massively from Chris Van Tudigan since I've been reading about like processed and ultra processed food, just how the body responds to it. And I think that's very overlooked when you start prioritizing it, just how much. So I think it was my last final transformation. I went all in on nutritional value rather than looking for the lowest calorie X, pushing out meals and everything like that. And like, sleep improved, stress improved, just productivity, like so many benefits. And the only variable, because I controlled so many, that was just the change was high profile, like full fat everything. It wasn't like
more nutritionally dense,
and that's the thing. I very rarely snack now. It's massive breakfast, big lunch, dinner. I still have my cereal. I'm like a cereal fiend, but for me now, I just feel so full and just like a beast. I'm a beast anyway, but you know what I mean. So but yeah, I think educating people on that, and I was very much so like, you need to do calorie tracking like it's relevant. It's a good tool. I still think it's a good tool, don't get me wrong, but not for the rest of your life. And it's almost getting to that intuitive eating.
And I think, you know, if you are dealt a bad hand with upbringing, genetics, it's got to be within your personal sort of level of tenacity to want to change. But there's an answer out there for what you're looking for. Do you know what I mean? If you really struggle with weight gain, you could go and get hypnotized to get off the sugar. You could start looking at things different spiritually. You could reach out into a different community. There's so much you could do that it is kind of, I am almost going to answer the question where it is kind of your fault if you are fat.
Mm.
Especially, you know what I mean? Because it's like something will work, and the internet and the world we live in
every episode, baby,
could, like, you know, can show you that path. So it does come down to whether you value your health, whether you're willing to take personal responsibility for your shape and your size. And if you are, okay, you might be the most carb intolerant person on the planet, and you have a crumb of bread and you blow up, where your next door neighbour can eat 5 slices and he's lean. But you can find your way of, you know, unaddicting yourself from whatever it is you're hooked on. You know, finding a nutritional, natural remedy to whatever ailment it is you suffer with. You can go on that journey to do it.
Yeah. I think blood testing, I've had probably 5 or 6 clients do it last year about like whether you're hyperthyroidism, hyper, like with the thyroid element. I think people can almost use that as an excuse. There's a big range for the thyroid, and I think I've had some clients that are at the bottom end, and it's almost their attitude, well, I've got underactive thyroid, so I can't do it. It's almost the intensity comes off. But yeah, I think we've all got different variables, different hands and stuff, and it's almost, again, when you give people an excuse or a way out. And like you said, everything is at the touch of a button on the internet that you can sort of learn from. And that, I think we're undoing a lot of work from growing up with the Weight Watchers, Slimmer World, Atkins diet, cleanse, juice 9, all of that. But again, it's just almost having that label of I've been affected by this, so I'm not willing to change, and almost that victim mentality. But I think as educated as we are, it was a big educational year for me. I always put it out there, like with bread, like Hovis, best of both, was always thinking that was like the best choices. And then when you actually look at like the E numbers and how processed that bread is,
it's garbage.
Like, but then that is like, it's like one of the best breads you can have from the food corporations. Do you know what I mean? And it's that breaking down, and there's so much. How much do you remember the percentage of fake news? It travels faster than. It was crazy stat, wasn't it?
I can only imagine, but
there's so much, again, minefields with it. You just don't know what's healthy. And we said about it before, like everything's labeled as like sugar-free or fat-free, and that shouldn't be the enemy. But people, that's what's been advertised and marketed to us.
And this is where like people need to, you know, almost wake up, because I love with the ultra-processed foods, I love the casino analogy. In casinos, or in the gambling sector, there are people very, very intelligent that work with psychologists to sit down in a room to say, what temperature do we need the room for people to stay in here longer? How do we not have any corners in the room so that people get disorientated, lose their bearings, and don't leave as early as they want to? How do we have fluorescent colour chips so they look more disposable, so people gamble more than, so it doesn't look like real money, that kind of thing? The powers that be have done exactly the same with food. How can we make this taste ultra hyper palatable for you, so the point where you can't get enough of it, but you can feel the calories but not the nutrients, so you just keep going and going and going? How can we make the packet rustle so you get that sensation when you open it and think, oh my God, this is going to be monumental? Like you said, how can you get it at this perfect eye line so that like the apples are down here but like the Belvita's up here, so that you see the chocolate yeah, you see the Billy Bear ham, processed meat, you see the... Well, now we're in series 2. There's going to be certain gags that only true alumni, VIP, Confessions of a PT VIPs,
3 months coaching if you get it.
And that's one of them, yeah. We should start handing out incentives. But like, there is literally people that have sat round and being like, how do we manipulate the unthinking masses? And it's like, if you're just going to be one of the unthinking masses, sleepwalking through life, you're in trouble. And you're going to be fat, and you're going to be unhappy about it.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of push back a bit and be like, well, no, actually, I'm going to think for myself. I'm going to either start doing my own research, or I'm going to realise how, fallible I am as a human being, and take some ownership for not rationalise, that kind of thing, because we're screwed otherwise.
Yeah. I think you touched on it with the ultra-processed food. I'm always scared of the speed of what you can eat it.
Yeah.
I put it with like, again, I'm going to say Hovis bread again, but I can almost eat there in 2 mouthfuls and it's just swallowed.
Yeah.
Whereas sourdough, I actually have to chew it. And I think that's a big indicator, because it is all get the consumer to have as much as possible.
Yeah.
And like you said, where your body isn't getting it understands fats, proteins, carbs. It's just like, I haven't had it now, so you're going to be hungry and it's going to spike.
Yeah, I don't know what these Pringles are, so I'm going to eat the whole tube before anything even changes.
So easily done.
My brain's on fire. I've got bacteria belly, but oh well, I could do another tube. Yeah. Oh, what was that? 4,062 calories. Oh, okay. Like, it's madness. So yeah, I mean, it's I struggle with topics like this without turning it into a conspiracy theorist like rant, but it's almost impossible not to these days. I think the more you learn about nutrition, the more conspiracy theorist you become. I stand by that statement.
Yeah, and it is, and it says, I think I had a physio session a couple of weeks ago, and the guy turned around about the food corporations and pharmaceutical companies almost being like hand in hand, because they are announcing profits like crazy because people are getting sicker.
Yeah.
They're all getting like...
Eat these Doritos, take a pill for all the problem the Doritos gave you.
Yeah.
Off you pop.
And they're not going to... And that's the thing, are they even helping you? I don't want to, obviously, we can say about conspiracy theorists, but whatever they're giving you, is that actually making you better, or is that just making you worse? I mean, infections, diseases, flu is at an all-time high. It's not slowing down. Obesity is at an all-time high. And the people at the top, like you said, they're fucking clever people. They are clever. It's all... And there was a supermarket thing on YouTube. I have to see if I can put the link in, but how from 30 years ago with like bigger trolleys now, like all these things, they are smart where they put things in the supermarkets, how sweets are like with the little kids, right when you buy, you pay as well, just because it's so easily done. So
that's the thing. I love the casino and the gambling analogy for that, because people they understand that casinos are money-making enterprises that don't want you to leave, so they can believe that there's something thought about proactively for that. With the food, they're like, well, I don't know, there's Tony the Tiger on the box. He's smiling. He seems pretty friendly. Can't be that bad. And the poster at the top of the road said there's some vitamin D in it, so that can't be the end of the world. And my next-door neighbour eats it, and I was watching Good Morning Britain, and an advert came on for it, so... I guess Frosties are all right. Yeah. It's just like, wake up.
I was devastated. One of my favourite people online, do you know, is it Cole? Do you know he does the Jeremy Cole impersonations?
Oh, the mixed race guy.
He's just been branded with McDonald's though. Devastated.
Oh, sellout.
He's just massive sellout. He's done a massive thing. He was my favourite, and like my... What's the word? Perception of him has just gone right down, and he's announcing like McDonald's deals every Monday at lunchtime.
I can't
and
talk about it.
It's Make the pure disgust.
No, it's like the Erling Haaland advertising Prime. It makes my skin crawl. And I will publicly declare now, if I ever go uber famous,
Uber Eats.
I will never... No, I want to say this now to be clear. If I ever blow up and go mainstream famous, I will never sell out. You will never catch me advertising Belvita for a quick buck. I couldn't do it, which is why someone like Haaland that's on an obnoxious amount of money from Man City, why are you poisoning people for extra money? Yeah. Stop it. You don't need to do it. Yeah, like... When Ronaldo did the old vibrating belt, it was it has to be his best mate that owns that company, because you don't need any extra money to spout bullshit. Why are you doing that? That's my crust.
Perfect. So we that's killed me. That
we've gone off a tangent.
So again, similar to what we did in the last episode, what would be your advice to someone that is like very, very, very overweight?
Realise that you need to get a real sweet spot balance between taking on some personal responsibility, but realising that you won't want to. And it is your biological inclination to minimise time and effort. So you've got to try to make it fun. You've got to try to go for a walk every day, put a wall chart up, and tick it off with a green tick 30 days in a row to give yourself some dopamine to then start a positive spiral of momentum. Because if you're 45% body fat at the moment, you have got all the reason in the world to not exercise. You don't have the habits built up. You'll be worried about what people think of you if you go into a gym. Do you know what I mean? And it'll be very, very easy for you to stay there. So you've got to almost trick your brain into making this a journey that excites you, whatever that starting point is, and then just build. And another thing is as well, just realise that no one really cares about you. I think is quite a liberating thing. I think sometimes we overplay our own people's perception of us.
Right.
And when you get to a certain age, you realise no one cares about you. There'll be probably a handful of people at your funeral. You'll be forgotten in 50 years' time. So be single-minded about your life experience and make it count and do what you want to do and maximize it, and stop worrying about what anyone else is going to say if you do it. You know what I mean? No one cares if you die 10 years early or if you don't. It's go and get it.
Like that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think my one would, I spoke about him earlier, but just take an hour to watch 3 of the videos from that Chris Van Hooligan, since I've showed them to my clients, and he's really good because he says to not stop eating processed, ultra processed while you're learning about it, and then little swaps, and just when you look at food and mood, just little changes, how that makes you feel. And I think just if your mindset doesn't change after that, then I'd be very surprised. So
yeah, I like what you said there. The small steps as well, that's big, because we're in January at the moment. It's the time that you can easily tell yourself that you're only going to eat broccoli and asparagus, and you're not going to do that unless you're used to doing that. So there's little swaps, part of that seduction process into a healthier life. Great topic though.
Love that, mate. Pleasure as always, Mr. Carl.
Same time next week. Thanks for watching.
So back when I used to work in a commercial gym, big thing for all PTs that are just starting out is to turn your notifications off on your phone if you have them on. So one of the clients really didn't enjoy training her, was on the bike, and I'd put my phone on top of the bike, and basically I was speaking to my partner at the time before about how much I hated training this client in particular and how much she basically pissed me off. And then as we're speaking, the notification comes down from my girlfriend at the time being like, I know you hate her, it won't be that bad, I'll speak to you after. And I'll be like, and she see the message, and it was just the word, never come back after that. It was my last session with her, and I was just like, so yeah, a bit of advice for any PT out there or new. What you shouldn't probably have your phone anyway, but yeah, the notifications can get you into a lot of trouble. So yeah, lesson learned. Oh